Good evening YouTube, Ian here from Coolice Charge Cases and Power Supplies. I hope you're all safe and well. Seems to be that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope you're all stayed fit and well to enjoy these times as we now appear to be going back a little bit more to normality. Long may it continue, and we all move on swiftly from what's been happening this past year. Anyway, without further ado, I've got another charge case to show you. I've been a bit slow actually with videos recently, not that it's not through lack of not having any, it's simply through the fact that I've been nice and busy with these charge cases, which I am greatly appreciative of all the customers that come see me and put their faith in me to build them their charging cases and solutions for them. But anyway, this one's a little bit different. Again, I'm not boring you with my face, I'll just bore you with my voice for a bit, but this one is the first ISDT Twin P30 build that I have done. So this draws on, I did recently do a P30, it was a single one from memory, and obviously then this customer then for this particular case wanted a twin, not a problem. It was just a case of kind of replicating the same sort of, well basically it was replicating the same fixing situation that I'd set up, and of course also then the machining of the deck to suit, but of course offsetting it to suit too, and then of course then changing my connector, the charger output connection points to suit the customer's requirements, and obviously then mounting them in the case, or should I say on the deck. So anyway, without further ado, let me lift the lid. Nothing too flashy in this one. So obviously at the bottom end, let me open that up without hitting the lid on my brickwork. As you can see, twin ISDT P30 chargers. I must admit, you can't argue with the value of these chargers, sadly. Give or take £140 for 2 times 1000 watt chargers is very, very good. They're obviously packaged in a nice small box, for want of a better word, which obviously suits quite a few cases. They're quite deep chargers, but you've got to have something to them for that amount of power. And with the features, obviously with the Bluetooth connectivity for their app to control it and monitor it kind of thing, it's absolutely brilliant. I might obviously consider one of those myself at some stage. So anyway, back to this case. We've got your typical 10mm polypropylene deck as normal, which I'm favouring at the moment. It is quite nice to obviously have the stronger deck and obviously be able to bolt everything to it, even if it does cost a little bit more and takes a little bit longer time to machine on the CNC router rather than produce a laser cut acrylic deck. Oh, I've just run my fingers across it and I felt a small piece of leftover vinyl from when I was obviously trimming the various holes. So I've taken that off. So obviously on the left hand side we've got obviously in this case I'll refer to it as charger 1, and then we've got channel 1 and channel 2. Now I did mean to do it before I got them, but I forgot. If I just reach over here with the laser cutter, I did laser cut some little legends, and I haven't stuck them on yet because what I was going to do is let the customer decide where he wanted to put them. Now he requested for me, he wanted obviously XT60 output option and obviously then the 4mm banana jack points as well. So what I've done, I've wired them in parallel. So obviously the positive and negative from each of the connectors goes to one another before it goes off and terminates in an XT60 to plug into the charger. And then we've got the usual JST-XH balance port there as well then for obviously, which again then goes back to the relevant channel on the charger. And obviously then that's repeated for each channel, and it's the same on the other side, just mirrored. So obviously to denote that, originally I was perhaps going to go with some form of laser cut decal again, or this very nice, I do like this material, it's laminate, laser laminate. So it's black on the back, it's got double sided tape there, but it's black on the back, you can see by the side shot of it. And then on the front it's got this like brushed aluminium look to it. So essentially with the laser, you then laser out, or should I say laser away, the chrome finish to leave the black underneath, and it's available in different colour combinations and stuff to then obviously give you, in this case, a legend plate. So, but instead of doing a bigger piece, which I thought would look okay, but then might be a little bit too much, you could go with a smaller one. So I've just done a CH number 1, and then basically then that could go wherever. The customer could put it down the side here, he could put it at the top, You can put it down the right hand side so you can see it, obviously like that. You can put it pretty much however he wants to put it, to be fair. So I've just left them loose, and the customer can decide what he wants to do when it arrives to him. So I'll put them back on my bench. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll leave them there. Again, as normal, the line of 10mm, the line of cooling slots along the front, and again, cooling fans. I'm keeping the direction. Likewise with the power supplies inside, which you can just about make out the connections there on the front of them. I must admit, I took a picture of the underside of this deck, which I'll stick on the back of the video when I process it and add some text to it. I didn't take a picture of the power supplies inside. Again, they're bolted to the bottom of the case with some 3D printed holders that I make for my cases, and then I've got my quick release connectors on the front, which then obviously come up via 2 wires for 25 volt and then obviously terminate in an XT90. So essentially you've got the XT90 that connects to the power supplies to the fly lead on the underside of the deck. So should the deck need to be removed for any particular reason, you just disconnect the XT90. There's also 2 IEC plugs that go to the back of the PSUs that obviously then are wired to the back of the IEC connector on top. So just slide them out and the deck can be lifted up and turned over and worked on if need be. So at the back, we got the airflow slots at the front. At the back, we've got the usual 9733 radial fans. And instead of, in some of my previous videos, you may have seen I used to 3D print the grill, the crosshatch grill, which worked very well. But then I thought to myself, hang on a second, I've got a CNC router. Why not just route the grill into the deck? So that's what I do now. I recess it a bit. So obviously it's recessed 5mm behind it, and then obviously because the deck is 10mm thick, each one of these like ribs, thin ribs if you want to call it that, is then 5mm thick, so it's nice and strong. Then of course, then obviously with the vinyl liner, then I trim the slots out of it, and you can see underneath the radial fan under there. And that's mirrored on both sides as well. So essentially you've got cooling air going in. It can go in through the front of the power supplies if the power supplies draw it in with their own cooling fan. Through the charger as well, if the charger also pulling it through with its cooling fans. Then it's all thrown out the back, and obviously is then collected by the 2 radial fans, which are obviously then sucking air in from the front as well. So the airflow remains constant going through. They're not the quietest fans, admittedly. I did wonder if perhaps a slightly better quality with a better bearing might be a bit quieter, or of course I could slow them down by putting a buck converter in line with them. These are 24 volt fans, so again they're wired in parallel to the underside of the deck, so 25 volts out from the power supplies straight into the chargers and straight into the cooling fans. Likewise then, the twin USB port then at the back as normal, which is quite handy. That's there for obviously charging mobile phones or anything else. Again, customer didn't really request anything specific on this. He just obviously wanted a nice usable case with the twin P30 chargers, and it's all presented quite well in this. The only thing he did request, which I'll pan up to now, is one of my basic one of my basic lid tidies. So again, we've gone with 5mm thick acrylic laser cut on this occasion, which obviously gives the nice crisp cutouts, and obviously I think they're 2.5 or 3mm wide slots, and again they're to suit the hook and loop or the Velcro straps, which I buy obviously on a big roll, and then obviously just cut it to suit. And he's got a couple, actually tell a lie, I think he's got 3 specific balance boards, charge balance boards he wants to put in. So I've sized these 2, the spacing between this side just right, spacing on this side, and the spacing on these 2 straps here in the middle for the 3 main boards, and then added some other loops then for other leads and wires across the middle. And then of course then, even though I'm using some slots, there are other ones in between. So if the customer wanted to change the width of some of these straps and stuff, they can easily. It would obviously be easier then to remove the lid tidy from the lid by undoing the 4 screws on the back. There's basically 4 screws, 1 each corner, and they obviously then mate into the 3D printed nut holders. Here within this is an M5 nut that obviously slides in from a slot on the side, and that actually just basically acts like a mushroom standoff. So it's mushroom shaped, so it's button head on the top, slides into a hole, laser cut into the acrylic, and then obviously got a slight spacer behind just to space it away from the inside of the lid, and then obviously it's bolted in place. So that produces quite a nice effect. Also, this deck material, excuse me, it's couple of times I've used it now, and it is basically matte black, which is actually really quite nice. You can see it's got a little mottled finish to it, and because it's not glossy, it doesn't scratch so easily, which looks good over time. And it also then doesn't, okay, you can leave greasy fingerprint marks on it if your fingers are really greasy, I suppose, but you can touch it and not really leave any marks on it, whereas you can't do that with like a glossy surface, for example. So like the charger, if I touch my finger on it, there you go, just left my fingerprint on the charger, for example. And that's exactly the same as what would happen if I was using gloss acrylic there. So I'm using matte. The finish actually looks quite nice in this case. Again, it kind of provides a bit of a stealthy look. It's, apart from obviously the charging points here, the rest of the case is black, you know, with a carbon look deck, and obviously then the lid tidy as well. Just looks quite nice and, yeah, stealthy. I like it, so I'm pleased. Customer hasn't seen it yet. I haven't sent him any pictures, but I will do shortly. If I power it on, I have got the AC lead ready, but I haven't turned it on, so let's do it. And there you go. You can probably hear the cooling fans. They do whirl away, but not too obtrusive. And I'd rather have, there's an awful lot of airflow coming out of them, which is quite nice. I know we don't necessarily get terribly hot summers compared to other places in the world, but it can get warm in there. And I tell you what's quite interesting as well, if I put my arm over the air slots, you could actually feel the suction from the fans pulling the air out of the case, which is what we want. You certainly don't want any excess heat building up inside the case, so I'd rather have the cooling fans running really nicely and keeping a constant airflow through there than any heat building up. I suppose I could put some temperature controller on there as well, and I have looked into that recently, and it is something that could easily be wired in place, so the fans then stay off until such time as they're needed and turn on and off accordingly. But again, it's just keeping the thing simple. We don't want to overcomplicate things unless we need to, because again, the more you add into the cases, the more they're going to cost. So all down to the customer and what they want. What they're after is what I produce and what I give them. So that's it. As you can see, the chargers are on. I must admit I haven't connected either of them up yet via Bluetooth to see if they do require any firmware updates. I might perhaps try and do that before the customer comes, so when he gets it, he can obviously then just take it away and use it to his heart's content. But anyway, as usual, thanks for watching, stay safe, and for all your charging needs, give me a call. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.